All right, we're live on Relationship Real Talk. Thank you guys so much for joining us. This is your boy JDR. I have my man Jamel Townsend also on this interview with us. Jamel, how are you doing today? We have special guests Anthony and LaDonna Hackett. How are you all today? We are so thankful for you guys joining us today. And look, we're gonna get right into it. Um, Anthony, you did an interview about a week or so ago with a young man who is a Christian, but he's struggling with being gay. And I am so happy and grateful that you did that because you stepped out into what in the Christian community is pretty much uncharted water on a collective level. That is a taboo subject in our church, although we know that it is very prevalent in the Christian church. But for some reason, we have failed to address it. And you took the reins and you led out and you addressed it. And I truly appreciate you for that. And today, I've asked you on the show so we can kind of expound on that a little bit more because, some of the top questions that are coming up about this subject is God made, well, first of all, can you be born gay? And then the argument is God made me this way. Um, and then of course, if he made me this way, how can it be wrong? Okay. So I think those are the three questions we want to address today. First and foremost, can you be born gay? Can you be born gay? And then we're going to discuss, did God make me this way? And last but not least, um, if God made me this way, is it wrong? Those are the things that we're going to discuss today. And Anthony, I think you pretty much, in your interview with that young man, I think you did a marvelous job of allowing him to state, his struggles and how he was going through that. But I wanted to sort of give on a grander scale a little bit more attention to this subject matter simply because there are a lot of people that are struggling with this. And I just believe that it is our job as Christians and those who say we are servants of God to sort of expound a little bit more on this subject. You also talked about this on your Friday night episode on Facebook Live. And I think it was very key that we went back into it again because, again, sometimes I just think that we miss a lot as Christians and we kind of help facilitate a lot of confusion. The one thing that we do know about God is that he is not the author of confusion. God is always trying to reveal his will and his way to us. The problem with us is we don't study God's word enough to understand what he has said, what his character is. And I've heard people say, well, it's dangerous for us to try to assume what God would do. Well, no, God actually set that standard. He set a pattern of behavior that is indicative of who his character is. So we know that God is a God of love. That's why we struggle when we see what we like to call good people, bad things happening to good people. So we struggle with those things. But on this particular subject, there's a lot of struggle. There's a lot of confusion. Why? Because in part because the church, in my opinion, has failed to really address this wholeheartedly. In most of the time, it's in fear of what blowback is going to happen because of things that may be said. But on this show of Relationship Real Talk, our goal is to get to lead to truth, change, and restoration. And so that is my main focus: truth, change, and restoration. And we do that first of all by way of living our lives on a godly principle based living. So if we can't do that, we're going to find life a lot more difficult than it has to be. So, Anthony, when we talk about can a person be born gay? Can a person be born gay? What are your thoughts on that? Because that is a question that's not only being questioned in the gay community, but now the science community, or certain people in the science community, because most of the science community said no, there is no such thing as a gay gene, so forth and so on. And then we've had, within the last 3 to 4 years, a scientist has come out and said that they've located a gay gene. And um initially, I must admit, initially my first thought was, man, whatever, you know, and that was my initial thought. But as God started to deal with me a little bit more and I started to go back to the biblical writings, some things started to make sense to me. And we'll discuss those a little bit later. But what are your thoughts on the whole gay gene thing, the whole gay gene?